Hey everyone! Hi, Kelly here from Kelly Som. We are here to talk Breaking Bread, available in lot number 3, and it is here to make you think differently about Zinfandel. If you ever need to be challenged to think what Zinfandel can taste like in a Pét Nat, it is here in my hand. So this is the 2020 Dry Creek Valley Pét Nat coming. Dry Creek, of course, is in the broader area of Sonoma in California, and Eric Miller, super talented winemaker, is here to show us what Zinfandel can do, and that it can be light and like this airy and vibrant, fun, sparkly beverage that defies what, including myself, what we often think of Zinfandel. So, what is important about the story of Breaking Bread? So here's a little bit closer look at the label. It's super fun, lots of colors. You have like a rooster on the front, a little homage to wine country in California. So 2020 vintage is what's going to be in the box. I would say it's interesting to think about the heritage of Zinfandel in the United States. There are plenty of 100-year-old plots that were brought to what we, of course, now think of well-established California wine growing regions from Italian and some non-Italian as well, homesteaders. And they brought with them old vine clippings of Primitivo, which is Zinfandel from the old world, and they brought with them what they knew. Whether or not it is common knowledge, vine clippings can travel really well in a suitcase. Now now, like, legally you have to plant your vines from a nursery because it's really important to control pests. And in 2021, if you were to take a vine clipping from the old world, smuggle it in your suitcase and plant it in your backyard, no one would ever know, but you probably shouldn't do it because vine pests are real, and you're technically supposed to quarantine. It's funny that we're talking about quarantining, vine clippings, but technically you're supposed to, just to make sure that you're not transporting any diseases that are common to vineyards. So 100 years ago, vine clippings smuggled all over the world, and that is part of the story of California Zinfandel. All these old heritage sites, their forefathers bringing their clippings from their favorite grapes and propagating them in California. And so Zinfandel's story in the US is quite old and quite rich, literally quite rich. So Martinelli is the fruit source for our lovely Zinfandel Pét Nat. And yes, Martinelli does sound familiar. Martinelli is a famous wine family, but it also is a famous apple growing family. And although there's no apples found in this bottling, there is a connection. And Martinelli family has a very long history in the agriculture world in the United States, and they happen to own some of the best Zinfandel vineyards. There are a lot of great Zinfandel vineyards all throughout, specifically California, but the Martinellis have a good share of those land holdings. So that's just like a little bit of fun fact for our club offering. And just a reminder for those who aren't familiar with Pét Nat, Pét Nat essentially is method ancestral, and what that means is to get the sparkle in the bottle and the bubbles, the wine undergoes a second fermentation, and it is the most simple form of second fermentation is Pét Nat, which is that method. It's AKA method ancestral. So essentially what happens is the grapes undergo their initial fermentation, and it is impartial, it's an incomplete fermentation, transferred into the bottle, and then it's essentially sealed. Fermentation continues in the bottle, and instead of that SO2 escaping into, into the air and dissipating like it would in a still wine. Essentially, this crown cap or any other, closure, a cork in some instances, would capture that SO2 and it is magically absorbed back into the bottle, which gives it its sparkle. It is, like I said, that incomplete first fermentation where they transfer the wine, cap it off, the fermentation restarts in the bottle. Again, bubbles into the bottle, absorbed into the juice, and it gives it that like really integrated profile on the palate. And Pét Nat is also super crushable compared to a second fermentation that is method traditional. And I digress just a little bit because Pét Nat and method ancestral will always have a little bit lower ABV, always be lower in atmospheres being the pressure naturally in the bottle, compared to method traditional, which is like champagne method, or something that you would see traditionally like in cava and some really high quality Prosecco's. And the reason that I mention that as a comparison is because if you are used to drinking a method traditional sparkling wine, which does have higher alcohol and higher atmospheres in the bottle, you're used to like really strong sparkle. I sound so serious, but that really strong sparkle and just more pressure in the bottle, which results in what most people think of as the example of sparkling wine. So when you get your bottle of Pét Nat, don't think that it's flat, because it's not. Don't think that like it's, that the bubbles aren't right. It's exactly the way it's supposed to be. It is just the more ancient way of making sparkling wine, if you will. This comes in at a cool 11% alcohol, and it's nice and zippy on the palate. Super fresh. Enjoy.